Hi, now I'm sure we have all heard about the comments that were made by Liam Neeson in a recent interview that he did promoting his new film. And the film is basically about revenge and violence, and as a lot of his recent films seem to be, he seems to be playing the same character over and over again, and it's working for him, and that's great. And so he was promoting his new film, trying to get people to talk about it, and in a interview with a French journalist, he brought up a story that was purportedly about revenge. And I'm not going to get too much into the details because I'm sure you know that, and I will put links in the description box to the article and other stories about what was said. But he basically said that a woman who was very dear to him, that he cared about very much, had told him that she was raped. And he was obviously incensed by that and disgusted probably. And he asked her about the attacker and what color the attacker was. And she responded that it was a black man. And that was enough for him. And he said that after that, he, for a week, had what is known as a kosh, which is some type of blunt force instrument that you would use to enforce blunt force trauma on someone. That he walked around the black areas of Ireland looking for a black man to kill, to beat to death with that weapon. He also said that he was hoping any black man would like provoke him in some way, so that he'd have this excuse to beat him up, beat him to death. And obviously when I first saw that, because I saw that on Twitter a few days, I saw that article and I was disgusted by that and angered and very disturbed, and for what I thought were obvious reasons. But what I've even found more disturbing is the way that many people, especially black people, have leapt to his defense, including John Barnes, who's always ready to defend white people for some reason. He fights against racism. He leads up a lot of anti-racism campaigns in football, but at the same time he is very eager to defend white people, especially to defend the indefensible. So the people who defend him, saying that it's just natural what he was talking about, that there's a dark side in everybody, and he wanted to enact revenge. Number one, this story that he told has nothing to do with revenge. Revenge would be him asking that woman about who attacked her. What was he? What color was he? How tall is he? Where does he live? And trying to find that exact person and trying to kill or harm that particular man. If he had gone, that is not something I would suggest, but that's not something that I'm advocating for, but that is revenge, because you are wanting to attack the person who hurt someone that you loved. The fact that he has this one descriptive element of this person, of the assailant, being that he's black, and deciding that he wants to go and act the worst type of violence against any black person that he happens to find. That is not revenge. That is racism finding an outlet, finding an excuse. And unfortunately, this is way too common against black people, and especially and acutely against black men, who have been portrayed for centuries as violent, as aggressive, as overly masculine. All those things that are not true, that are more true of white men than they are of black men. There's a movie called Birth of a Nation that was released in the post-Reconstruction era in the USA, and it's sort of the birth of Hollywood, and it's racist propaganda that one of the tropes in the film is that black men are dangerous and that they are out to attack and rape white women and that they should be killed. And so that type of thinking that is so old still persists until this day, that black men are dangerous and that black men are violent. And that is what informs someone like Liam Neeson to, even if he lives in a society where there aren't even many black people, I'm sure in Northern Ireland or in the Republic of Ireland, that there aren't that many black people, so there probably wouldn't even be crimes committed by black people, but those racial stereotypes have permeated throughout the world, outside of the USA, outside of South Africa, countries that we would associate with racism. They are all over the world. And so even someone living in Ireland can have such a intense hatred for black people that it manifests itself in this way. He was not avenging the death, he was not avenging the rape of this woman, because if he had gone out and found some random black person and killed him, the particular assailant, the person who committed this ghastly crime, would still be out there and would still do it again. If you are really angry about the rape of this woman, you would want to see the person who did that dead or locked up so that they can never do anything like that again, and so that they can pay for their crimes. But he was not interested in the person paying for the crime, or the person for avenging the actual crime. He was just interested in living out this racist fantasy that he had of attacking a black person because he has so much anger in him. Revenge in itself is not necessarily irrational. It's not unintelligent. It can be someone on a revenge mission can be very logical in the way that they're thinking. This of what Liam Neeson did, first of all, is illogical. And it's illogical not because he is an illogical, irrational person or because he was angry, but because the main goal of what he was doing was to attack a black person. That is what he wanted. He was not concerned, and is not concerned, with helping out the woman who was raped, putting a bad person behind bars, or hurting someone who did something this terrible. I explained the defense of Liam Neeson by other black people is the fact that we are used to violence against black people. We are desensitized to this, especially people in America. We are not at all taken aback by this. If he has said something about how, he wanted to attack any dog. This woman was bitten by a dog, and he decided, okay, I'm going to go and find any dog and I'm going to beat that dog to death. We would have responded very much in unison against that action, and he would be investigated. He would have been a pariah by now, rightfully so. But the fact that this can be enacted because he was trying to do this against a black person, and we're used to that, and we're used to viewing black bodies as valueless, as worthless. This really doesn't make us bat an eyelid, and we can dismiss it as something that is normal, something that is okay and forgivable. It is literally unforgivable. It is literally classic racism, and the reason why people like Trayvon Martin are no longer with us. He was hunted down by a white man. He was killed. The white man was taken to court and found innocent because of these attitudes that we have towards black men. It's a lynch mob attitude, and it's disturbing that people are defending that type of behavior. The Tuskegee Institute estimates that at least 4,743 people were lynched in the United States between the years 1882 and 1968, and of those, 3,446 were black people, 1,297 were white people, and if you look at this time period, 1882, 1968, this is just after the Civil War ended, slaves were freed, and then throughout the civil rights era, because there was pushback against black people receiving rights. Most of these assailants, about 95% of people committed crimes against black people, were never ever prosecuted. A little boy like Emmett Till, we know the story about Emmett Till. It's a devastating story. But that he was viciously killed because this white woman lied about him having attacked her. And this woman in Liam Neeson's life, I'm not saying she was lying. She was probably telling the truth, and she was telling the truth about whoever attacked her. But the fact that he does not distinguish between different types of black people, he sees us all as a monolith, all as the same, all as worthless and disgusting and worth killing. If the attacker would have been white, he would have done either two things. Number one, leave it and let the police deal with it. Or number two, go out and search for that particular man who did this to her and attack him, which is affording white people the right of being individuals, of being distinguished from each and every single one. We are not paying for the crimes of one person. So that is innately racist. And we know that he would not have gone out and said, I want to attack any random white person, any random white man who I see, if she had said her attacker was white. And we as Black people are not afforded those the privilege of being regarded as individuals and as complete. We're not judged by our own individual characteristics, but as a monolith, and the judgment is always the same. It's always a damning, it's always a damnation, and our lives are valueless. Let's think about the way that we view Black lives and the way that we were so quick to defend someone who has admitted to something so monstrous.